Okay, good day, welcome back. Here's a quick follow-up to my previous video where you can see the thumbnail. It was talking about how to use my corresponding squares annotations to be able to read on a normal skid and using sort of lichess as a vehicle to put them across. Now, what I thought in reality is, particularly for some of the simpler corresponding squares studies, why not convert them so that both lichess itself and chessbase as well could actually read the annotations, and you wouldn't actually have to go that extra step of converting it back and using skid and all that sort of thing, right? So this is kind of work in progress, but I thought I would do that next step and move to trying to display corresponding squares annotations. Now, just a reminder of where we're at and what I did yesterday. That's my rather buggy version of skid, so I can draw coloured squares, and what I did yesterday was convert that so that the new version of skid, which handles coloured numbers, you can see the same thing and move around it and play it as if, right? So I thought that was what we got to yesterday, and I want to try and sort of move on to the same thing as, why not lichess and chessbase as well. Now, a few things I had to do here. So now, remember yesterday, the idea was that I would take a PGN and I'd run this bit of code, which actually used sed to change the formatting around so that rather than percent draw and then a few things with a number at the end, I changed it to percent draw and then the number and then the colors, right? So that fixed that. And they kind of do exactly the same thing for lichess. So, and but basically the same problem. And remember the whole issue, the whole problem that lichess and chessbase has only 4 colors, right? So this actually is the same process of just converting a percent draw into a percent CSL for the mark squares, and then it's blue A6, blue B6, blue C1, blue D1, blue E1. Now what I've done is obviously I've used many colors, and what I've decided is that just rotate around the 4 different colors which are available, and if you've only got 4 sets of corresponding squares, that's fine. You've got 5, hopefully the 5th one is far enough away from the first one so that you can sort of get a reasonable sense. However, that does not work. Right, and the reason it doesn't work is in your list. It should be, for instance, if you look at this should say percent CSL BA6, BB6, BC1. And when I load in lichess, it couldn't handle it. Maybe chessbase, maybe other versions of would accept it. But the idea is that was part of the efficiency of it, right? You'd only have one list of colored squares and a list of color arrows. I'll do color arrows later because it's just going to be sort of work in progress. Basically, I needed to use Python code. Now, I think maybe the font a bit bigger so you can read it. This is the world's most horrible bit of Python, but I'll just give you a sense of what it does. It's just taking in a PGN with my percent draw round annotations in them. So we set up a list of colors, which we can just rotate around and use the mod of the number mod 4. Open up a file. So this is the standard code. So you loop through a game, you open the file, you loop through the game, and then you loop through the nodes in the game. There's this distinction between moves and nodes and all sorts of stuff. I'm not 100% sure what the technical differences are, but the node contains the comment. So we get the node, we load the comment, we actually split it on percent draws, so it gives you a list to look at, and then if any of those split list items has the word round in it, then we know we've got it, and then this actually works out. This 1 to 3 is the square, and then this is the number code, which I'm going to convert into a color, last character, and then you can see this is the get the number code mod 4 color, and then you save it back as a percent CSL the square, the color in the square, and then you put it back in the comment, and then when you've done all that, you print, save the game. So that's what happens, and when you do all of that, it will look like that, and it still contains the old stuff as well, but it's put these codes in here that you can see. So that's the lines, and then you can see there are on different moves and variations. Let's put another set of them in there, right? So that's what that Python code does. So let's have a look at what that, and obviously you just save that as a PGN and load it into lichess. So now let's go and have a look and see what that looks like in lichess. So you can see the lichess, and I've added this extra one of the carriers positions, and 21 minutes from 1921. So look how it works. Okay, cool. Right, so that's worked, right? And you can see that green is used twice. The ones on the first rank correspond to the ones on the 6th rank. So let's just go through this. Actually, I haven't done this position. We need to give black the move in this position so that we can break through to the king side. That's how it works. So he moves back. triangulate, moves forwards, right? So now black has to go back, and that's the trick. And now we move to the side. The most resilient line is you are threatening to counterattack the A pawn, and if we go onto the green square marked D3, then black will go onto the green square marked D4 and actually draw. So you have to move onto that kind of red square. Now you have to move onto that yellow square, and then finally black is forced to back off, and then now you're on the key square of the black pawn, and you are going to win. Okay, so that is the annotations, my corresponding square annotations now working in lichess, and you can see that I've only mapped out a few of them. Is this one, another famous one, right? It's not actually the winning move. Do it properly. I think we go here. You go on the yellow one. I couldn't go on the yellow one. Green one, yellow one, and now you go back and force black to go on the yellow square with triangulation, and then now it's black to move, and that's easily winning. So quite happy with that. And then the final thing is saying, well, okay, we can do that in ChessBase as well. You can bring up the capture screen for that. So there is Fani Alpen. I've pasted it in there, and you can see the way it's marked them up. In fact, this is a starting position. I prefer to actually put a picture of Alpen in there at the top left. So you've got to give black the move, as we've just demonstrated. Move on to yellow square. Black has to move on yellow square. Move red square. Black has to move red square. Red square. No choice now. And now we win. So I think that this actually looks much crisper than lichess. I think there's two things. First of all, those rounded rectangles with a thick line is quite good, and then obviously the colors. Actually, they are real colors. I mean, obviously the lichess is browser based, and you could have changed the colors if you like. So, okay, so this is just an extra little insert before I closed out, just to show you where we got to in terms of using lichess. So here I've now created a list of 6 of the corresponding square studies I've done. That's just in Skid, standard thing, right? Colored squares. I think I've moved around a little bit. Arnie Alpen, a couple of Gregorian studies, and a Lecoq, which obviously Lecoq has many corresponding squares. So I got those 6 studies, and then remember we wanted to get it into lichess. So what I've done is I have a couple of versions which work in lichess. So let's go across to lichess. So I've just run my little script. You don't need to see that. Changes the annotation from %draw la 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 into %CSL. Haven't done the arrows yet. And we go across to lichess. That'll be over here somewhere. It's on there. So you can see how I've sent it across. This is called Corresponding Squares Training Annotated. Name of the study. I've made it public, so you should be able to look at this one if you like. And then I don't know why it's showing the moves. Maybe the moves will be hidden if you're looking at it and I'm not looking at it. And then you can see how it's not the best example, but you can see it's got the corresponding squares and it's got the computer sort of calculating. So that says it should be made in 28. How to do it? Yeah, there's the corresponding squares, and obviously you go on the yellow square, goes yellow square. The point is this is one either person to move, so that's why now we're back on the yellow square and we force him away, right? And then we're up there. Right, so Lecoq. Maybe another Grigoriev. This one I've put as a study to draw, so I probably have to put a heading in. That's the drawing move. Because now you just match whatever white does. Okay, so that's one of the versions. Corresponding squares training annotated. And then I've got another study. Let me find it. Corresponding squares just training. Same thing. Can have no corresponding squares for you. And then the other one is corresponding squares for skid. And the idea of this is you can see the ugly annotations there which don't actually work, but that's the whole point. This is not for running in lichess. And then I said you go across here, you do your share, you do study PGN, and then you then run your version of skid. There it is. And that's got those 6 studies in it, and it'll give you the nicely marked up squares. So some of them quite work because obviously a couple of them are doubled up, but you certainly get the idea. We're on a square mark 3, so that's the thing. So what I've done is so you can't see it now. What's the move if you know your corresponding squares? I'll put a line in here. So okay, we've moved on in square mark 3. So what's black do? Most resilient, we go on to 5. Most resilient, we go on to 3. Most resilient. You see now there's no point going on the 2. What you do is you go back to the square mark 6 because he can't go to square mark 6, and he goes to 7. We go to 7. He goes to 8. We go to 5, he can't get to 5 now, go to 2, go to 4, he can't get to 4, go to 3, now we go to 3, and then we finally break through on those 2 key squares. That's pretty clear. So remember, to do that, I had to do that step where I copied the downloaded PGN into Notepad, did a Control H and replaced %, with %, and then you can load it up straight into SCID. So that's what my end game is, that when I'm doing these studies in corresponding squares in sort of my customized version of SCID, then I'll be able to share some of the analysis on lichess, using lichess as training, and then if you've got a vanilla SCID, this is 4.27, then it'll work like that with the numbered squares. So yeah, okay, end of diversion. Yeah, that's what I wanted to go through today. So now I've got two ways I can convert my SCID versus PC corresponding squares annotations into use the normal version of SCID will work with it, but also the simpler studies like these ones, I'll be able to put them in lichess and chess-based PGNs and be able to view them and go through the lines and variations just as I've been doing in my videos. Okay, quite technical today. Sorry about that. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching.